Welcome back to the Tennessee Frugal Craftsman. It's been a few days. Apologize for not posting sooner. I've been on vacation up to the in-laws in Pittsburgh, and so just got back this end of last week, or again, I guess the end of this week. I lost a week here. And so I've been finishing up planing my 2x6 and 2x4 lumber that I had cut out. And so I want to show you kind of the finished product, and then I want to show you the process I'm going to do or use to actually build a dipping trough for my wood so I can dip them with an insecticide. So this is my finished product of the 2x6 and 2x4. Now most of this is 2x6x9 and 2x6x8. As you can see, I've got probably 60, 70, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, about 60 of the 9-foots. I've got, a couple, maybe a dozen or so of the 2x4s down here, and then about another 50 of the 2x6x8. And so those are all sized and the edges are eased. I straightened them the best I could. You can see here on the other end kind of what I have here. Now some of those where there's holes, those are actually, I cut some of the ones that weren't that great, I made them into 7-foot jack studs. But yeah, I've got everything squared up, ready to go. So these are the 9s. I've got 9-foot, some 9-foot 2x4. Those are for interior load-bearing wall. And then the upstairs, it's an 8-foot ceiling or 8-foot structure. So 9-foot, going to be roughly 9'4" on the bottom, 9'5", and 8 feet on the top. So on the top floor. So that's what I've been working at this week. It's been a process. That's the last of the lumber that I've got milled out of that dimension. I still have, come over here, I still have my 2x10s by 14, 2x10 by 12, 2x10 by 16 back there as well. So and I've got one stack of boards over here yet, which I'm in no hurry to actually mill that or plane those. But overall, the planer has been working excellently. I flipped the blades already once. I think I talked about that in another video. And then this morning, yesterday it was starting to run a little harder, especially on the knotty stuff. And so I took the blades off this morning, took about an hour, took them off, and I used my belt sander. I've got about a 40 or 60 grit belt on that belt sander, and for me the belt sander works well because you have that flat surface on the bottom, and I made sure I wore gloves, but then I just ran those blades, the edges, across that belt sander for a few minutes, and did both sides again, and I put them back on, and that planer is working excellently as far as nice smooth cuts. And so just FYI, instead of just going and buying new blades, now I have another set of blades if I need them, but instead of just keep buying blades, I probably took 5 to 10 minutes per blade to sharpen them, but by the time I get done, I think I've got at least another bunch of wood that I can get out of them. And so I don't know how many sharpenings I'll be able to get, but I'll let you know. So that's one way to actually save some money. Of course, if you have a grinder, that will work. The problem is getting that long flat surface, and that's what I find with the belt sander. You can get the longer surface, and so you can do a better job. And so what I'm doing now, I'm getting ready to build my dipping trough. And so I'll bring you along on that process. Now it's hot here today. It's been really warm, and so I don't know how much I'm going to get done, but the first thing that I did is I cut 16 of these. That's just a 2x4. I planed one edge, or the two flat surfaces, to give me the dimension. to 1 3/4. So I've got 16 of those, and then I made 8 of the 20-inch. Now those are 20-inch and these are 6 3/4, so that's the depth of my dipping tray. I didn't think I needed too much more than that, get too much fluid in it, and it's going to take a lot of stress to hold it. And what I'm doing is I'm taking and making what is like a C bracket. So all I did is I just put a couple 3.5-inch deck screws in it, just working here like so. And I'm going to use those as my base to run, and I'm just going to run boards in it for now. Get it around here. So I've got about 16.5 inches in between, so I'm going to fill this in with boards. And I'm going to put one board wide, 6 3/4 what I have, some pine boards, and I'll plane the face edge. And all I'm going to do is use these and run them about every 3 feet. So one here, and so forth. And that will be my main support for the trough. And then I'm going to put the 6 3/4 board, 6 3/4 board on the side, and then fill in the bottom with board, and then line it with probably 2 to 3 thicknesses of 6mm poly, just in case something tears. And so that's what I'm going to do, and hopefully over the next little bit here I'll bring you along and show you the process. And so you stay tuned. All right. Okay, so I've got that together. Now I'm going to get some boards, some 16s and some probably some 6s, and I'm going to run them through the planer and get them down to 3/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to start putting this together. The box itself is going to be, the trough is going to be about 22 feet long by about 15 inches on the inside. So I'll come back in a minute. Okay, I am now at the stage of putting the bottom in. I've taken all of the uprights, those C brackets that you can see, and I put them every 3 feet. Now the very end was a little over, it was around 4 feet, so I didn't put the extra one in there. We'll see how that works. But yeah, what we got is I just capped the ends off with a piece of board. I decided not to plane these. These are in pretty good shape. So these are 6 3/4 boards. I kept them flush with the top, put 3 screws in, and now I'm going to set the bottom in and screw that in. That'll give it some stability. And I don't know, I might even leave it up here on the planer table. It's a little high, but a lot of my lumber that I'm dipping is not that heavy. Definitely not 2x10s. And so I should be able to just set them down in. Because that's 22 feet long, that'll do the longest piece I'll be milling here, and then some, give me some space on the end. But what I plan on doing is I will take and I should be able to set like 2x4s wide So there's 4 in there at a time, or send them on their edge. 2x6, you can put 2 at a time, side by side, and 2 at the other end, so you can do 4 pieces at a time. They tell me that they should be in there for about a minute. So by the time you put them in and then start the process of taking them out and walking and putting another piece in from the pile, should be able to go almost consistently, steady with it. So that's where we're at right now. So the next process is putting the bottom in, and that's what I'm going to do right now. I'll be back. Okay, we got a nice flat base here now. As you can see, I've got the floor in it. Now I've got to line it with some plastic, so I'll be back. Okay, it is the next day, Saturday morning. It got rained out just as I was getting ready to finish this up. You can see I've got it all lined with plastic. And so what I did is I took a 6 mil, and there's actually 4 layers here, thick. I just rolled it out. You can see the roll of plastic over there. It's about 3 feet wide. That allowed me to start here in about 1.5 inches, go down the 6 inches, across the 15 or so, back up the 6 and lap here. So I've got 4 layers in there. We got rain last night and I just dumped the water out of it, so it's holding water. So my next step is to actually put some type of a trim board on here. So I'm going to do that and I will show you how that's done. Okay, I am now in the process of putting on the caps. I'll bring you along for the process. Give me a second here. Okay, put 2 on each of the uprights, and then I go about every 8 inches or so along the edge. Screw into the board. You have to be careful not to get out and puncture your plastic. So I angle my screws just to get back out that way. Alright, now we're down to the last couple cuts. Now, the last thing I need to do is I need to cut some pieces that will just slide down in there. And I'm going to put those about every 2 to 3 feet. And the reason for that is I don't want my lumber to set right on the bottom of this and possibly damage or poke a hole in it. And it'll also allow me to get my fingers down around a piece of 2x4 or board or whatever, so you don't get a suction of a piece of board right against the bottom of this plastic and it's hard to get it out. So I'm going to cut a series of these. They don't need to be really tight. So I'll make them about 14 inches. Just enough so they'll sit there and they won't poke the edges. Take a little bit of those edges off. So it doesn't damage the plastic. Okay, we are now done. So you can see what I did is I put every 2 feet, I put in a cross piece, and it's just sitting there loose. And then I taped it down with zip tape, which you can get. Just zip flashing. Stuff is stickier than all get out. And all I did is I didn't know whether when I put the chemical in, whether those pieces of wood would be light enough to float, which they probably would. So I didn't want them floating around, so I figured this will hold them in place. And so right there we're going to have, I'll probably put 4 inches of liquid in it. Because right now we've got about, 6 inches there, or 5 and a quarter. So I figure if I put about 3 or 4 inches of the chemical in there, I should be able to dip pretty quickly. Now, this overall structure, or the overall box, is 22 feet long, 20 inches wide on the outside. Now you can make it whatever size you want or whatever your kind of lumber you're doing. I'm not going to be doing any large dimensional lumber. I think I may be doing some 6x6, but I can always just flip those around in it. There's going to be a few posts. But pretty well everything is going to be 1.5 inches or 1.75 inches. So this should fit right in nicely. And hopefully first of the week I should be getting at that. And so that's how you do it. At least that's how I did it. I'll keep you apprised if I have any problems. The fact that it's up high, if it does start to leak, I should be able to see it dripping, so I can kind of zero in on where it's dripping. Like I said, hopefully that doesn't happen, but I'll have to be very careful with it. So that's how you build a dipping trough. Well, at least a cheap one. I've got just my screws and a little bit of zip tape and the plastic in it, so probably what, $20 or $30 total in my time, and my lumber is all mine. So this is the first thing of any substance that I've built with my lumber, other than my roller table and stuff. But I'm soon going to start building, and so I appreciate you sticking with me. Hopefully by the end of the month should be up and running to build. I've got at least 1 or 2 small projects I have to do for somebody else, but yeah, I'll keep you apprised and show you what I'm doing. Until next time, I always appreciate joining me and kind of seeing what the Tennessee Frugal Craftsman is doing. And until next time, I pray that you have a great day, and please like and subscribe.